Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Always excited to delve into these fascinating stories.
Today we're tackling a tale that's been, central to Chinese culture for, well, centuries. Yu the Great.
Yu the Great, yep. And his fight against some truly massive floods. But it's not just the events, it's what the story says about how the ancient Chinese saw leadership.
Right, resilience and that whole human nature connection thing.
Exactly.
We're looking at an excerpt here, and it paints a pretty vivid picture.
It really does.
So, first things first, we've got to set the scene right.
Absolutely. Context is key.
This excerpt talks about the Yellow River Valley
Mhm.
and how it was basically constantly getting slammed by floods.
Yeah, it was rough.
I mean, can you imagine just the sheer scale of it?
It's hard to even fathom the suffering.
A feeling of helplessness people must have felt against, this raw power of nature.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Yu's story so powerful,
Yeah.
because he steps up in this time of utter crisis.
Right, so before we get into what you actually did,
Uh-huh.
you mentioned his dad, Jane, right?
Yep, today.
He also tried to deal with these floods, but he had, well, a different approach.
Very different.
Can you talk about what Jan tried to do?
Sure. Jan was all about, straight up confrontation.
Head on.
Yeah, he built dams, walls, basically tried to brute force the water into submission.
Makes sense on the surface.
Right. But the source we're looking at, it makes it clear this didn't work.
Failed. Big time.
Big time. And that failure is crucial to the story
How so?
because it shows us the difference between Jane and Yu, their whole philosophies.
Gotcha. So what was unique about how you tackled this problem?
Well, unlike his dad, Yu seemed to get water, truly understand it.
Deeply.
On a deep level, he recognized its power, yeah, but also its, fluidity.
Yeah. It's always got to be moving.
It always finds a way, right? So you didn't try to stop it, he worked with it.
Interesting. So how'd that actually play out?
He dredged channels, diverted the flow, guided the water toward the sea.
Smart. Instead of trying to block it, he gave it a path.
Exactly. And this is huge in Chinese thought, that harmony with nature.
Like that go with the flow kind of thing.
Kinda, but it's more than just going with it. Yu was strategic.
So a calculated go with the flow?
Right, exactly. He understood those natural forces and used them to solve the problem.
Makes a lot of sense.
No.
And you see this harmony with nature idea everywhere in Chinese culture.
Oh, absolutely. Traditional medicine, calligraphy, those amazing landscape paintings.
Even martial arts, Tai Chi and all that.
Exactly. It's woven into the fabric of their thinking.
Fascinating. Now, the story doesn't just focus on the method, right?
Nope.
It really emphasizes how incredibly dedicated Yu was to this whole thing.
Absolutely unwavering.
There's that line in the excerpt, something like 3 times he passed his home without entering.
Oh, yeah. That one always gets me. It's like, whoa, this dude was committed.
Imagine that. So focused on this huge task, helping his people.
That he just walks past his own house, his family. Doesn't even stop.
Wow, that's serious dedication.
For sure. Speaks volumes about his character.
So obviously all this effort, this clever approach, pays off. Yu tames the floods.
Success!
What kind of legacy did that create?
Ew, a huge one. He earned the title Adoijen, the flood hero.
Catchy.
Right. But more than that, he became the symbol of good leadership.
People looked up to him.
Oh, yeah. Selflessness, cleverness, facing down massive problems. He embodied all that.
His story went way beyond flood control.
Totally. It became part of the foundation of Chinese culture. Their values, their ideas about leaders, you shaped it all.
Pretty amazing how a story about floods can have that kind of impact on a whole civilization.
It's powerful stuff.
So we've got Yu's innovative methods, his crazy dedication, his lasting legacy. But what about now? What can we learn from this dude today?
The big question. Right. I mean, we've got our own floods these days, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. Climate change, societal divisions, the economy going nuts.
It can feel overwhelming, right? How do we even begin to tackle these things?
Totally.
Maybe Yu's story gives us a new way to think about it.
How so?
Well, instead of always trying to overpower these problems,
Yeah.
maybe we can learn from you. Understand the forces at play, work with them, not against them, find a way to guide them toward a solution.
It's pretty thought-provoking.
Makes you think, right?
Big thanks to you for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure. Always a great time.
And all you listeners out there, keep those brains churning. See you next time for another deep dive.